This is Talkings Sith, your weekly supply of the dark side. Not just the dogmatic narrow view of the Jedi.
Good.
Welcome your host, ponderer of plethora of pointless theories, dart of pontification, man of the mitten, Mr. Josh Roach. Born and raised in Queens, New York, $20 for a holla, the maximum paps, scumbag of all villainy, Mr. Michael Pappas.
Hello, everybody. My name is Josh Roach.
My name is Michael Pappas.
And I'm Sean Sullivan.
And we are the Sith List. Oh, it looks like we got another one of our friends ready to hop on with us right here.
Yo!
Les, how's it going?
I'm out.
Okay,
Oh.
that was great.
What's up, Les?
How we doing,
What's happening,
Les?
Michael Pappas? Josh?
Chilling, man.
Don't think I've met you before, sir.
Sean, good to meet you.
That's his.
Nice
That's
to meet
his.
you, Sean.
That's
Not
his
actually
thought.
Japor Snippet.
I was about to say, how do I say that, man? Is that Dutch? But
Sean and I have our Star Wars names.
Yeah, those are your Star Wars. Yeah.
Yeah, it's my pod racer.
Bats of cat.
my pod racer name. Yeah. Yeah, I'm right next
This
to
is
Ben
great.
Arrows.
This is great. I apologize. I'm just gonna have to be truthful. I was taking a hit of a good pin there, but
Nice,
we're good.
nice. That's all right.
I don't know how kid friendly your channel is. I don't want to get y'all any violations as I see that.
Kid friendly?
Are y'all like? Are y'all doing YouTube Live? Like, is that how this goes?
We are. We're all over the place right now. This is our first time trying to use StreamYard.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. I think you guys are gonna get spoiled because StreamYard is real user friendly, if I'm not mistaken. So we do everything over on the Sith List, which you guys were introducing yourself as. And you know what? Go right ahead. I'll give you permission.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, no. Talking Sith. Yeah, and you are, Les. You're from the Sith List, and
Yes, I am.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that, man.
It was started a few years back by a good man named Raj Dolashahi and his brother-in-law Carlos Buarguello. They did about 10 episodes, snuck me on, and then I've been on ever since. We've added a couple other peeps, so we got about 6 hosts. King Tom Chansky, Eric Struthers, and Randy Lojudice, who used to be part of Now This Is Podcasting. We do what everybody else does. We jumped on the geek craze, and we cover your week in geek. We try to break some news. Mostly talk Star Wars, comic books, comic book TVs, movies, video games here and there, and any other kind of cool stuff that we got going on, or everything that is going on out there.
Nice. Yeah, we kind of do the same thing here, just mostly Star Wars.
Is that what we talk about?
Just a little bit. I apologize. For some reason, this isn't streaming on our pop culture hours, so I'm trying to correct that on the fly right here.
Oh, you're trying to add like another
Yeah.
broadcast stream, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Really don't know how to help with that. I just know how to ask if you're trying to do that. So
Can we just
I'm good at
share
asking questions.
yes.
Maybe you just share the feed from Talking Sith page, no? Like I can just share the link.
Potentially, yeah.
That's all right.
Let's see. Save changes. Is that working? I think.
See, this is
think it
why
might be
people
working.
you make sure that you meet with your co-host earlier and you troubleshoot these things, which we clearly have done today, by the way.
Oh yes,
There you guys
100%, 100%.
And it still finds a way to screw it all up, so don't worry about it. You could meet for 3 hours and have a whole full-blown pre-production meeting. Doesn't matter.
Is that what you guys call your Patreon at the beginning?
Ha! That actually, you know what's funny? Our Patreon and podcasts actually go very smoothly. It's our YouTube reactions that doesn't matter. We can get on 20, 30, 40 minutes, go over stuff, and then something will either automatically update randomly, someone's internet will refresh. Like, it's just, it never fails to, like, have some type of, just a tiny difficulty come up.
Well, let me tell you, I work in the audio business now. I'm on. I work at Odyssey in advertising, and I sell all these podcasts. And we have a bunch of these studios, and the amount of money, the budget that goes into these podcast studios that I'm learning about now is insane. And I'm like, yo, me and my boys been podcasting since like 2015 with a gamer headset and a microphone and like a bootleg computer that runs off of a potato battery. Like, they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on these studios now just for podcasting. And like, you can podcast if you want to in your car off of your phone, right? So it's really like gotten very professional, so to speak. It's crazy. I'm running my computer off my potato right now, so I'm about to eat it. It's so hot.
Gamer headset. What
Yeah,
can I say?
Yeah, exactly, man. Can't go wrong. I got skull candies.
I was just telling Josh,
Yep.
I paid for these fucking $250 Sony End Zone things, right? I prefer my $40 10-year-old Plantronics Xbox headset.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, whatever works. It looks comfortable as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. That's pretty much how it is. And how it should be.
You sound good on it. I mean, whatever. Yeah, exactly. Whatever works.
Yeah. You get
Man,
there,
I
Josh?
got everything where it says it's set up, but it still doesn't want to post to the Pop Culture Hour.
All right. Well. Oh, wait. Heather posted it.
It's shared.
Heather
to the
shared
Pop
it.
Culture Hour. I shared it. Okay. It's just
Or
not
you
gonna
shared it?
like.
I think
It's just
Heather
not
shared
gonna
it.
pop up. You know what I mean?
She can pin it.
These tails. Oh, here we go. I think I figured it out. There it is. We
Got
should
it.
be live now. Should be live.
God damn it, we're live.
We'll do it
We're
live.
doing it live. All right. So introducing ourselves again. I mean, I'm Josh, Darth of Pontification, Pointless Pontification. We got Money Bags,
Bags of cash.
Mr. Mikey Pappas. We got the man of no monkey business, no monkeys, Japor Snippet, Sean Sullivan.
There you go.
And we got our friend from the Sith List, Mr. Les. How's it going?
It's going great. I need a Jedi name. I need a Star Wars name for
Yeah, redo it.
I love the Darth of Pointless Pontification, man. That just belongs somewhere. Damn it! Like it's just got to be a great title, man. That just needs to be for the masses to see it. You know, just has to.
That's basically all I do around here. I come up with really intricate plots that are never going to come to fruition. I connect all these dots, and
That's not true. He gets very, very close some of the time.
I mean, from what I understand, it was a Star Wars show that like probably tickled a lot of people's speculative fancies that just aired the other day. So I'm sure you're pretty close.
oh yeah, I mean, I think my the closest I've come, or probably my crowning achievement of that is the end of Ahsoka with the Mortis gods. Like, I was on and on about that the whole time, and
Actually, I believe that you were a hit on your Sith List appearance with some of that stuff. But
I think so.
that was my
yeah, we did. We talked about that on the Sith List
Yeah.
last time we were on there. All right, guys. Well, we're here to talk about the Acolyte. The Acolyte. Episode 8. Yeah. Oh, you said it. So I'm just going to go around the table and I'll ask you guys for, man, we're probably going to end up breaking down like the entirety of the series when it comes to this too. So Les, I'll start with you. Like, give me your overall take on this episode and the series itself.
Well, I personally felt this final episode kind of tied a lot of things together and answered some questions. I feel the fight choreography. Something about the fight choreography in Star Wars overall has just, I don't know, man. Like, it's so damned good compared to what the original trilogy had. Like, they've just decided we're just going to go ahead and add all this awesome stuff. And then you get, if you're ever going to, like, do a full blown marathon of Star Wars and watch every single thing, you're going to get to the original trilogy and be like, what the bleep is this? Like stiff moving Vader, like where's the like legitimate like the je ne sais quoi or the panache or whatever, like the fencing style, like the legit fighting is just legit. Like, and then not only that, like it showed another like the power levels. When watching Kenobi, that was like anime level force use, man. They were sending full mountain ranges at each other, and to see just that there were other groups connected to the force in their levels of strength to be able to create two people, you know what I mean, like two actual living beings of the same that are literally the same, two sides of the same coin. It's been the series itself. I get it, there's a lot of hate, and I don't understand that hate, but you know what? It's still Star Wars. Like, sometimes you just got to look at it and go, we got more Star Wars. There was a time when we weren't getting anything. We were just getting the same 3 original movies with new CG or, a few deleted scenes that were remastered, and let's stick them in here. And then people were like, well, this sucks too. And people hated on that too. So, like, I guess you'll never satisfy anyone. But overall, I thought the series was great. We have to get a second season. We just have to get even a 4 episode mini. Let's just rock 4 hard episodes and just cover, whatever's going on with Chimera and Plagueis. Like, how do you introduce
Plagueis.
Who's that?
Plagueis? Right. How do you introduce that and never follow that up? That is a horrible, horrible way to just leave that gap.
Yeah.
And not only do you get Plagueis, who's the embodiment, right, of the seduction of Anakin, because that was Palpatine's. He just kept mentioning, "You've heard of Darth Plagueis?" Now we see the embodiment of that. Not only that, you get the legit, the prophecy or the call out from the senator, who's like, "What will you do when someone flips from within your ranks and destroys? How are you going to handle that?" And I'm like, "Dude, just call down Anakin." Like,
Yeah.
you just legit predicted Darth Vader coming along and just wiping everything out completely. So it's a new look. It's a very, in my opinion, a based look at what the Jedi Order stood for. The level of, it's just like some type of law enforcement. You got to forgive me, but I'm not anti-law, but I'm going to say it anyways, yo. There's almost always a rotten apple. There's always a bad bunch. There's always someone, there, and to see them make decisions and do some things under the guise of I'm doing my job, and right. I had a hunch, and this hunch was so strong I had to do this thing, and they destroyed a lot of lives, and then it ended up all 4 of them that were there ended up all getting the same fate, in which the wheels came around and took them out too. So, like, it's just it's amazing how that's being played out there and portrayed, and I kind of like that as a different look for the Jedi in general.
Yeah, I 100% I agree. And it's funny, you said if anybody were to watch all these back to back and do a marathon. So me and Japor Snippet here, Sean, for the past, how long have we been doing it now, Sean? Since 2005.
Are you talking about the Saga Day?
Saga Day. So we've had
Yeah, we're
Saga
about 20
Day.
years of it.
For like 20 years, we've watched every single Star Wars movie, and then when the new ones were coming out, we'd watch them all leading up, and then go see the
oh, absolutely
night show,
Yeah.
So we've been doing it, and now in recent years, we've had what I call the roach cut, and I've made my own cut of things, but it is a little bit jarring, right? But there's ways around it. There's ways you can explain it away, and I let's just use your head canon,
Head canon. not from a Jedi.
Nice. I kind of look at what is it, in Revenge of the Sith, right? They would already started acknowledging that they were losing balance, losing touch with the Force. They were losing that touch. So maybe the fighting skill went with it too. And, only Luke was capable of doing awesome backflips here and
And
there.
they're both, one of them's been sitting in a desert for 20 years, and the other one is, he's half charred, man. And, we don't know what he was just, what he was just. I used to be able to say, we don't know what he just got into or what was going on, but we just saw him literally with a hallway scene in Rogue One, like hours before that. So that's out the window now. See, have you seen that Scene 38, that YouTube video that they made, Scene 38, and it's like a fan film of that battle of Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader.
Yeah.
And
that's check that out.
That's what's in my my Star Wars edit now. But
no, Les, you've definitely seen that. It's the one where they just make the choreography, the whole fight scene on par with modern Star Wars fights.
No, man, I don't think I have. I'm gonna have
to,
or I'm gonna have to take a look and just if I've seen it, fine. If not, then hey, man, I'm watching it again, which is cool.
You'll love it.
Yeah.
So Sean, give us your take on the series overall and this last episode.
All right, so I think I'm a little more critical of it, but I'm going to start out with the pros. Sorry, I'm going to start with the pros. Overall, I enjoyed the show. I liked it a lot. I think the choreography and the lightsaber duels was pretty awesome. I would put it just a step below like episode 1 and episode 3. I think it was, outside of those two duels, it was probably my favorite. It was really, really good. The overall setting and the plot, just the whole like mystery of it, and then trying to figure out what happened on that planet with the witches and everything, that was really cool. And I love Saul. Saul was awesome, man. I really enjoyed that character a lot. Now to the cons. I really do not personally enjoy the portrayal of the Jedi being like deeply flawed. And I do agree. There's always bad apples, right? And I think we got that a lot in the original trilogy and more in the prequels, right? Like there are people who are flawed. But personally, I do not enjoy the Jedi being deeply flawed fundamentally. I understand that's what they were going for, and to each his own, right? But I think Star Wars is best personally when the Jedi represent the light. They're the good guys, they're the heroes. The Sith and the dark side, they're the bad guys, right? I think Lord of the Rings is another good example of a series where like it's white and black, right? There's good guys and bad guys, and for certain types of movies, certain types of mediums, I think it works really well. There's a lot of shows and a lot of movies out there where there's anti-heroes and there's a lot of shades of gray and stuff like that, and there can be characters that have shades of gray and aren't always beacons of light, right? Like Han Solo had good and bad, there were shades to him, but you had Luke to contrast that, right? You had the beacon of light. You had Darth Vader as the beacon of darkness, right? And the Emperor. So I think you want to have those to make the shades of gray more interesting. And I just don't really personally enjoy how I don't enjoy the Jedi being portrayed as flawed. I understand they were, and I get that that's what they were going for, and people enjoy that. But for me personally, I like them being a little more binary for this. Okay. What else did I have? That was my biggest thing. I think that Saul got a bad rap. Personally, I don't think that I think they were going for trying to make it be like, oh yeah, he was a good guy, but he made a lot of mistakes. Right? He killed the mother, and I get that, but I think about the heat of the moment in the situation that he was in, right? There was one of the witches had drew their weapon on the Jedi. They're about to attack. Saul doesn't know all the information that we know as the audience that she was going to let Osha go. Right? So Saul just hears that she had said, hey, there's going to be a sacrifice. This girl's going to be sacrificed. And she sees the mother start to turn into like a demonic dark mist cloud thing. And then he looks over and sees who he believes is Osha, or one of the sisters, also turning into that mist thing. And he acts in self-defense because he thinks, what is she going to do? She's a threat. She had already possessed the mind of the Padawan. She'd already used dark side powers. And I think he acted in self-defense. And a large part of the show was focused on like his guilt and saying that was a huge mistake he made and stuff like that. And I don't think it was. I mean, I think a lot of people would have acted in self-defense in that type of situation. And I don't know. I think Saul got a bad rap for that, but I really enjoyed the character of Saul. I know we'll get to what happened to him. I love the guy, like the character a lot. But anyway, to wrap it back, I enjoyed the show. I think there were some issues with it, but overall I'd give it like a 6 or a 7 out of 10.
Ooh,
Right.
great score. Great score.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with most everything you said there. I think that Saul, like as a character, this could all be taken. Like, we all know the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise, and obviously this is hinting at that. It's the first time we've seen him in live action, but
Did you ever hear the tragedy of Master Saul the Compassionate?
I think that you could retitle this entire show "The Tragedy of Master Saul the Compassionate," because out of all the Jedi that we're introduced to in this, and Sean, I think you and I were kind of talking about this the other day, you don't like seeing the Jedi in this kind of a negative light, but even George
That's my
Lucas,
own personal preference. That's my
Right.
my taste. I can understand if you enjoy shades
Well,
of
it's
gray
not
or
that-
the Jedi being portrayed as darker. I get that, but
Yeah.
I like the other, right?
It's not that, and I don't think that it's. I think the thing is really that, and I know that George Lucas and Filoni have both said, especially in the last couple seasons of the Clone Wars, and in arcs that weren't released, especially in Dark Disciple. There's a novel called Dark Disciple, which is about Asajj Ventress and Quinlan Vos, and it was going to be a final arc in the Clone Wars. And in that, the Jedi Council actually, they take Quinlan Vos, who's kind of this like really rogue Jedi, and they give him the task of assassinating Count Dooku. They're like, it's gotten to the point now where the Jedi Order is putting out hits on these guys. And what Lucas and Filoni had said they were trying to say at that point was the Jedi had fallen into this trap that Sidious had laid for them, but it's a trap they had been stumbling into for a long time. And that's also hinted at by Master Yoda in episode 2 when he was like, even the wiser, more experienced Jedi now are, they're arrogant, they're full of themselves, essentially. I'm forgetting the exact line right now. You guys know what I'm talking about when it's Kenobi and Mace and Obi-Wan, Mace and Yoda all talking at the Jedi Temple, and he says, like, even the more experienced one, they're falling into their hubris. And I think that the thing is, the Jedi we are used to following, for the most part, Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and then Luke, even Ahsoka, Anakin, they're all Jedi that are not exactly cut from the custom Jedi cloth. They're not cut from the stock Jedi that the Jedi Council, the Jedi Order really wants to put out. They want to put out Coyote Mundis. They want to put out, Jarl Poofs and Yord Fandors. Yeah,
And
your
four snippets.
yeah, your Yord Fandar, right, is the Jedi like example, like by the book. This is how we're supposed to be. And the senator in this last episode of the Acolyte, like Les was saying, who was it? Was it Les? Was it you were saying it earlier? Somebody was talking about it earlier.
I did.
Yeah, he lays it out explicitly, like what's going to happen. And I think that is the shortcoming of most Jedi, that they do have these emotions and they like emotionally stunt themselves and they fool themselves into thinking that they're not affected by these emotions, but really they're just putting a cap on it until it explodes at some point. And so I think Soul is a Qui-Gon. He is a Qui-Gon-like figure, but it was just wrong place, wrong time, and a set of really unfortunate circumstances.
And that's what I think it was. I think it was really unfortunate circumstances, because as the audience, we understand the intention of the witches was not necessarily bad, right? And we understand the intentions of the Jedi was not necessarily bad, but I think the way of unfortunate circumstances just kind of went down is the way it did. And I don't think the Jedi, really, I don't think many of I think I think Torben obviously made a rash decision. He's young to go back. I mean, that was the biggest domino effect that caused that whole thing. But outside of that, I didn't see them really acting that rash or that bad. And you could debate, should Saul have just taken Torben back, or should he have gone in? But I think he perceived that the twins were under threat, right? He thought there was going to be a sacrifice. He thought those girls could be in danger, and that the sacrifice was going to happen that night. So he took the action he did. You could say it was selfish to try to get him to have a Padawan, whatever, but I think he did it to try to save them. And then it just kind of spiraled into the unfortunate events that happened.
Yeah, I think he did everything he did out of compassion. And I think that my headcanon for this was that...
Did you ever hear the tragedy of...
That's my headcanon.
Canon, not from the Jedi.
There we go. My headcanon for why Sol was so drawn to Osha as to be his Padawan, because they never really say why, right? And I think they leave that up to us for interpretation. So my headcanon in that is that they are somehow born of the Force, right? So they have a closer connection to the Force, probably a closer connection to the living Force, just as Anakin would have had a closer connection to the living Force. And if we look at the parallel between Sol and Qui-Gon, they're both Jedi that are very much attuned, more than their counterparts in the Jedi Order of the time, to the living Force. So I think that they are more drawn. Qui-Gon is drawn to Anakin immediately, and Sol is drawn to Osha immediately, because they are like avatars of the living Force in those days.
I like that idea, and I hadn't thought about that, but I think that's a good theory.
Yes. Capone saying, how did the Senator know all that stuff? We going to be on with Jedi being killed? Okay, so how did he? I don't think he knows that, but I think anybody could, if you don't trust the Jedi, and for anybody who doesn't put the Jedi up on a pedestal at this time, like, you could look at them and be like, that's a legitimate threat, right?
I think Vernestra told the Senator.
She told him there was a murder that she...
Yeah, she said there was a murder, and then like a serial killer or something like that. Or he asked, is a serial killer, and like, how many Jedi? She's like, multiple, and he's like, what? How did we not even know this?
Well, he was aware that the Jedi were conducting a murder investigation. And he was like, why hasn't the Senate been told about this? And she says, well, it's an internal thing. It's internal because it's only been Jedi that are killed. But he turns it around, and that's, he's saying, like, it's not that he is psychic or seeing the future in a Jedi, in Anakin, even though for us, this is what it's foreshadowing. It's just pure foreshadowing. But, I mean, you could look at this, like, if you give any organization superpowers, right? Like, there's always that chance, like you said, Les, like, even in law enforcement. And the Jedi were also portrayed much more like law enforcement in this than in other Star Wars. Yeah. It only takes one bad apple, or it just takes, somebody acting out of turn. And I agree with Sean there. I think that Mother Anastasia acted very much like, it's like she was reaching into her pocket real quick to grab something, when everybody's in a tense standoff.
It was just, when we did our reaction, and Roger's like, I would have done it too.
Yeah,
I would have poked her with my lightsaber too and just got it over with. Because, like, what do you see? Like you guys said, she turns into, like, she just taken control of Torben and was like legit, like, dropped an ultimatum. Like, if you want him back, like, and just dropped him to his knees. It was horrible, just brutal how she took over this guy. I'd be on edge too. You just can't have that, and not react that way. So, yes, Torben was the major domino to fall, because he just could not. He just could not help himself, because all he wanted to do is go home. Because he's out in the boonies running, water samples. Like, come on, man. Like, I trained with a lightsaber. Like, he got to showcase his skills. He's like, this is what you guys have me doing, man? I'm like picking leaves off of trees and running specimens.
I mean, maybe he was. Yeah, maybe he was a little seduced by Anastasia. There was kind of a little flirtation almost going on in the little mind possession thing. Maybe he just wanted to see what was going on.
Jodie Turner Smith is a beautiful woman too. So yes,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
could
maybe
totally
he
be
was like,
hey,
let's see what's going on, you know?
take me home too. Why not?
And for our listeners, Capone just did say that he would poke her with his lightsaber too. So everybody agrees. Like, no, I think that for the yeah, it was a bad situation, and when it comes to Torben like that, I think literally what we're seeing was almost like an inception of Torben already had that thought in his mind, and it was kind of like vampire where she had to ask him permission. So even though he might have been the least experienced, his mind might have been the most open, she still was not really able to access him and to take control of him by herself until he mentally knelt before her. And when he did, it's my headcanon once again that that was like she did that inception in his mind, and she planted that need so deep in his mind that he needed to get home by any means necessary, that later when it did backfire on her, but that's why he acts so rash when he's like, what? That's the way to get off this planet. Like, they are the virgins, so we got to go. We got to do this right now. And I think that was like her influence, lasting influence, because I think that anybody who's manipulated like that has lasting influence, and I think that we can deduce that by Kelnaka all those years later, drawing all those symbols in his house. There's something lasting about the effects of that when they do that. So, Pappas, what do you think overall, this last episode and the series as a whole?
This episode, 8 out of 10. Series, overall series, 8 out of 10 for me.
Okay. I think I'm right about there with you. I think this last episode is definitely maybe like an 8 or a 9 out of 10, and series as a whole maybe like a 7.5 or so.
Look, the one thing that's so great about Star Wars in 2024 is that we now have so much live action Star Wars content that you can take what you like, you can leave the rest. You don't have to curse people out on the internet and say how much you hate the ones that you hate, because you're not taking the same amount of energy preaching about the ones that you love to love.
Right.
Okay? Like, I get it. It's new. You want to bitch about it because you love Star Wars so much, and it's some Star Wars that you don't like, and you're disappointed in the moment, so you're reacting. I've seen some nasty conversations going on lately. Dude. Reminded me of Christmas of 2018. The show took a lot of risks. I think Leslie Headland, I think the creativity behind the show, even the story group, took risks with this show in a different way, because they've taken risks over the past few years, but not like this. I think this show is really driven to the Gen Z audience first, and then the general audience second, including the youth, younger children and teenagers, with just a lot of tropes that normally they wouldn't play with. I don't want to go into too many details and take this in a different direction. However, the risks they took that worked for me, I thought were fantastic, and like what? Like which ones? Throwing Darth Plagueis right there at the end of episode 8, right? Like, that's a fucking risk, because you don't even know if you're getting a season 2. The episode worked for me. I fucking cannot wait for a season 2, God willingly, now. But those of you who have listened to this pod for like the past 8 weeks or so, like you hear Josh and I talk about how much we're just waiting for Darth Plagueis or Darth Tenebris to show up, which Josh thinks is still a possibility. Looking at the timeline chronologically, it's like a 50-50 shot.
If we had Tenebris, that would be like 4 tiers of Masters and Apprentices.
Not really.
Isn't it how it works though? Would it be Tenebris to Plagueis, Plagueis to Chimere, Chimere to Ocean now, right?
Yeah, because
so like there's always one waiting in the wings, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
look at
And
how Palpatine operated, right? Just look at Tales of the Jedi. So Palpatine, and if we take Darth Plagueis the book into canon, which
I'm going to listen to that this weekend.
I just started listening to it again today. And Leslie Headland is a big fan of the expanding universe, and especially the Darth Plagueis book, stuff like that. So let's just say let's take that as gospel for the moment. We can look at that, knowing what happens in that book, knowing what happens in Tales of the Jedi, and here's the delineation. We have Darth Plagueis up here. He is the Dark Lord of the Sith. We have Palpatine underneath him as his apprentice. According to that book, for a while, he may have had. Oh no, I'm getting that mixed up. So Darth Plagueis, Palpatine underneath him. Palpatine then has Darth Maul as his assassin, right? But he's also already dealing with Dooku, and Dooku is ready and waiting in the wings, because according to Tales of the Jedi, during the end of Episode 1, Dooku kills Yaddle and becomes Darth Tyrannus. So
the rule of 2 is basically crap, is what you're saying.
Not really, because acolytes can be many, and they're not the president and the vice president, right?
You remember Sean? Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's fine. I just Clone Wars is a good example for people who have finally watched that or have been following it, because it's Palpatine, it's Dooku, it's Asajj Ventress. You can even say that Grievous because there is canonical story. Savage Opress, Maul's back. There's just a lot of shit going on. And then with Vader, Palpatine to Vader, you have the Inquisitorius, right? So Acolyte, Inquisitor, whatever, because they have different goals and objectives, right? So the Sith have a rule of 2 in terms of leadership and in terms of rule, but they have weapons. They create weapons. An Acolyte is a weapon, right?
And also, just because that was a rule set thousands of years ago, and because Yoda said it, or who was it, Mace Windu said in Episode 1, only 2 there are. Yoda. That doesn't mean that doesn't mean it's cut and dry, right?
Well, and I don't think
that's just a Jedi's perspective on it. He doesn't.
Right.
They didn't even know there was
that yet.
They didn't even know there was that.
Yeah. How does he know that there's only a rule of 2 if they don't know? I thought that was something we were going to get answered in this.
That's fair. Potentially,
that's still something that could get answered in later seasons, or we can just infer it's through something with this. I think that, you can. In Darth Plagueis at the beginning, when Darth Tenebrous dies, Plagueis says, with the death of Tenebrous, there is also the death of the rule of 2, because Plagueis thought that was a silly notion to hold so tightly to, that it was holding the Sith back. And so that's in the book. So that, if that's what's playing out in front of us, and also another, I forget who I was listening to somebody talk about it today. I think it might have been Heavy Spoilers, or New Rockstars, Eric Foss, one of the two. They were saying, look, if Plagueis is sitting there watching, Darth Toothy, Kamir, and Osha out there, and he's taken an apprentice, and he is the Master Sith Lord, that means that, he probably would have just killed them both right then and there, because he would have been more threatened by it. But if he's still the apprentice, and he's the one that's still building an army to take over Darth Tenebrous, that he's not going to be as threatened by it, because it's hardly ever the master that, at that time, that has a whole lot of different, acolytes and stuff. It's normally the apprentice that has other acolytes underneath them. So I think that's a point for Tenebrous. And according to the timeline, if we go by the Legends timeline, which, judging by, we don't have to, and we know we're not beholden to that, Tenebrous is still the master at this point. And Leslie Headland did say in an interview that she knows exactly, before this last episode came out, she knows exactly the relationship between Chimere and Plagueis. And she said, I can't remember exactly how she said it was sketchy, or it was complicated.
No, she said it was messy. It's messy, and maybe it was complicated, but it's definitely some.
Yeah, their Facebook relationship status right now is it's complicated.
So that's one of my biggest issues with the finale, and why I would give the series a 6 or a 7, the finale a 2 or a 3 for me, because I watched it from the perspective of there might not be a season 2. Like, we want there to be a season 2, and clearly they filmed it and it was presented as if there would be a season 2. But there might not be a season 2, and if there's not a season 2, just hinting at Plagueis and Yoda and more from the Sith or the Darksiders May, and like, that's such a cliffhanger and such a letdown if there's only one season. I feel like they didn't do anything to really tie it up. Like, they just left so much open. Now if there's another season, then suddenly this episode becomes like a 7 for me.
Okay.
Right? But if that's just it, like, it's a horrible letdown. So I think a lot.
Yeah.
I think I had it left a really bad taste in my mouth because I watched it from the perspective of this might be it. But then I thought about it more, and I'm like, well, if there is a season 2, yeah, they like Star Wars. Josh, you made a good point. Star Wars does have cliffhangers, right? There's a lot of cliffhangers at the end of episodes and shows and stuff like that, and it's fine because we know there's going to be more. Like, we know that episode 2 is going to be followed by episode 3. So if there is an episode, or if there is a season 2, suddenly it gets a lot better for me because I'm okay with cliffhangers. But if that's it, it's going to suck.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, listening to Dave Filoni talk on the galleries and the documentaries and everywhere else over the past few years, it's like they really have put all this commitment and effort into connecting all of like Star Wars media, from Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor, to the comics, to the books, to the young adult novels, to even the short animations that we're getting on Disney Plus, like Tales of the Jedi and Tales of the Empire. So if there's not a season 2, my point is, if there's not a season 2, it doesn't mean it's the last that one would hear of the story, either in another format or in another series, meaning animation, or in the form of a comic book, right, or a video game, which I wouldn't mind. But I know some people would really mind, because live action Star Wars is really all they want to consume for Star Wars. It's where they enjoy it, and it's more of like for the mainstream audience, and I totally understand that. And so you invested 8 hours, or not even, you invested 4.5 hours watching this series. You got left on a cliffhanger, and you're like, well, I'll never freaking know, what the hell happens in this story at this time period, right? But they have a plan, like a plan B, if this series doesn't get renewed, that they know what's going to happen. So we would get that in another form.
We're going to get the story.
We'll get the story. Right?
That's valid. No, that's a really good point. I hadn't really thought about that. That would make
but it's still
that would make it better. That would make it better.
But it'll still suck.
That would make it better.
yeah.
I want to see it in like the medium that it was presented in season 1. But if they still resolve the story in comics or like other shows, it's better. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to answer Capone's question, because he actually was asking me today, and he asked it again, so it's really on his mind. Is what do you think that Vernestra was going in to tell Yoda at the end of the series? And to me, it's kind of obvious, but maybe to some it's not, because they're confused as to why Yoda wouldn't have already been updated on the situation. I just think that he had bigger fish to fry, as they wasn't taking this so seriously. Vernestra kept this close to heart because of her relationship with Sol. She didn't want to blow this out of proportion to the count, like outside of just the council, and escalate it to the higher up, so to speak. So I think she was starting from scratch, telling Yoda, "Yo, remember 16 years ago on Brendock? Yo, I got some updates. I got some updates from that open case file, Chief. The case file's still open. I got some updates. Like,
and look, let's talk about how much this informs episode 1 and the prequels, because they took an 8-year-old, and I mean, she was very powerful in the Force, and I think that's one of the reasons.
Too old to be trained.
Yeah, too old to be trained. So you go forward, 100 years from now, and they bring Anakin in, and he's also really powerful in the Force. Not to mention, hey, Qui-Gon drops the V word in the Jedi Council chamber. He's like, oh, I believe he is a Vergence in the Force. Anakin is a Vergence. He's not from a Vergence. He's not involved with a Vergence. Anakin himself was a Vergence in the Force.
He's the tree, right?
Do you think right. Vernestra dropped the V word to Yoda and like mentioned that whole part of it?
Oh, I think so, because that was like a big part of it. That's why how else do you start that story? I mean, I guess you could start it in the middle of the story and then do some flashbacks and kind of jump around like they did in the Acolyte. But
I mean, you'd have to think Yoda doesn't buy it then, because or is he lying in episode 1, or is he not being truthful? Which I don't like that idea.
For what part? What do you think?
About I mean, when Qui-Gon's like he's a virgin, and then they think he might be the one, but like, do you think that Yoda think that they had been presented with a virgins before?
Do
you think he buys it?
They know of virginses. It's just unprecedented that, like Mace Windu's line says it all. Centered around this boy. Virginses are normally places that are powerful in the Force. So, like
or
the
could
cave,
be things, yeah,
right, yeah, or like the cave on Dagobah is listed as is supposed to be a virgin's. The cave, the mirror cave Rey goes into in The Last Jedi is a virgin's. They said that actually
Mortis in space.
Mortis space is a virgin's. So, and in the Clone Wars also, the Wellspring of Life is a virgin's in the Force. So, but these are all places that are conducive to life and are very powerful in the Force. But in Anakin, it's special because Anakin himself is a virgin's in the Force. So that is why, they're like, oh, a virgin's, okay. And then centered around this boy, like, that's the crazy part.
Okay.
But I think it will bring up, for Yoda, it'll bring all this up. Like, oh, okay, virgins, no parents. Like, we don't know for sure where we're going to land on Osha and May and exactly how they were created, but there's a lot hinted at it, and I think you can draw a lot from that.
I think the biggest thing that Vernestra has to come clean with to Yoda is that she had to lie and soil Saul's legacy to the Senate to save the Jedi.
Yeah.
Because if she told the Senate the truth, the Senate was going to be like, the Jedi are uncontrollable. This is getting out of hand. Like, you're too powerful and you're too unchained. And policy needs to be in effect, right? Like all that whole other shit. And that's the last thing that they want to deal with. So she got to be like, yo, from a political point of view, we had to lie to basically every government in the whole galaxy. But I'm going to tell you why. And I got a really good excuse. It's like Axel Foley coming in to the chief's office. And he's like, Axel, what the hell did you find a whole truck of cigarettes? And he goes, Chief, I got it at the impound. That truck was impounded last week. That was worth $20,000. And Axel said, but Chief, I got a really good reason for taking that cigarette truck. Okay. And then, they don't want to deal with that.
But, I mean, really, if they had to come clean, how bad would that have been? I mean, the witches possessed Kanaka's head, right? And then the Jedi just acted in self-defense, severed that connection, and all the witches just died. Like, it wasn't, they didn't do anything terrible.
Well, if you look at using today's politics as an example, I'm not getting political at all. Just in generally speaking, like, they're looking for an excuse to bring fire under the Jedi Order. They're like, look at like the way that senators talking to her, Vernestra in that room is like, you could tell they're looking for shit.
So, okay, all right. So, like, if there was any big slaughter, regardless of the reasoning, they would want to sweep that under the rug.
I think so. That's my take.
Okay, all right, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, because the questions, there'd just be too many questions. There'd be like, why were you there in the first place? And then it becomes, well, why couldn't you de-escalate the situation?
I mean, and the council did say to not. I mean, they could say that the council instructed them to not go back there, which they did.
Yeah.
Now they didn't have all the information at the time. They didn't know about the midi-chlorian counts being exact and that they were the clone, but they did instruct them to not go back.
Yeah, no. If you look, the Jedi overstepped for sure. In certain terms, they definitely overstepped for sure. The losing, it's one thing for them to like lose members or Padawans or whatever, like it's the classic martial arts thing. The master teaches students, and then there's that one student who takes the teachings and twists them, and then the master has to fight that student. That's part of the deal, I figure, with the Jedi. But saw the kids, then witnessed them from a distance, then decided to follow them. it became a thing. You know, it was like, don't go in there. It's like, you know, they could have left things alone or just like continue with their other mission, you know, the little thing they were doing, the ancillary thing, and then just keep a lookout, you know, some type of scouting, watch it, get to know them a little better, maybe even befriend them at some point, instead of just acting so hastily and just going so damn fast.
He's got a list. He's gonna check it twice.
Oh,
Welcome, Mirage from the Sith List.
Yeah, but didn't they think that sacrifice was going to happen like that night?
Oh.
I mean,
time.
I don't know.
time
Okay, so
series.
if I'm not mistaken, the twins were talking about a ritual. They didn't say anything about a sacrifice, but when they followed them, the kids said a sacrifice.
Yeah.
Oh, well, then all bets are off.
In the second flashback, that's what changes everything for Master and Dara, because she's all
Understood.
like, okay, we gotta go by our mandate. Very like Obi-Wan episode 2 with Anakin and Obi-Wan in Padme's apartment. Like, it's not part of our mandate. We're not going to overstep our bounds. But when something hits the fan and we see droids trying to kill Padme, Obi-Wan's going to jump out that window. And as soon as May, because we don't get May's interview with the Jedi in the first flashback episode, we get it in the second flashback episode, and she's like, they're like, okay, what does your mom say the ascendancy is? She's like, oh, well, mom says we all have to be sacrificed for and as soon as she says sacrifice, that's when Indara looks at Soul, and then that's I think that is when the fire gets lit underneath, especially Soul. Like,
and I could be wrong, but wasn't there some mention at some point that like it was going to happen that night?
Okay, so that changes. That kind of changes my deal then, but it's still, you know, just the way the way that it was written or portrayed, and we saw it. It was still kind of sketchy. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, there was still there was some side eye that was needed to be, you know, thrown their way, just a little bit of shade, because it didn't feel right in some ways.
I think especially because we saw the perspective of the witches, right? We know that there wasn't the worst intentions of them. We didn't. I mean, the Jedi I don't think they knew that, but like us as the audience could see them, and they weren't out to kill the Jedi. I mean, it was a bad situation.
So
Raj.
Yes.
Raj.
Hey, what's up, guys? How you
there
doing?
he is.
How are you? How are you?
Good evening.
Good evening. Sorry I'm late. I was just putting away some kids. I told them I had to go talk some Acolyte here. Ooh, I just dropped. That was interesting. How you guys doing? Everybody good?
Good, man.
Great.
Good, man. We're getting into the nitty gritty.
Yeah, we're talking about urgencies.
We finished small talk.
Oh, you just finished a small talk. Okay.
We're diving in the deep end now, man.
Right. I hear you.
And you know us.
Yeah.
The cockamamie theories. We let them like run wild.
You guys have great theories.
Wild.
I like your theories. You had some great theories about Ahsoka too. Last time we talked.
Mostly Josh.
Josh has some great ones. Yeah.
So I have another cockamamie theory about that's the whole sacrifice line, and actually Capone's comment just made me reminded me of it, because I was thinking about it today. When they do the ritual, like if the Jedi don't show up and they go through with that ritual with both girls, okay, you know, when these witches turn into these smoke monsters, you know,
right?
Not so much unlike the smoke monster from Lost. To all my Lost fans, I know there's a lot of them.
Yeah, it was the same monster.
Raj and Josh are two of the biggest Lost fans that I know. So
I love that.
What if I already believe, and I truly believe this, that Osha is the more powerful of the two. What if the reason why they're trying to make the girls feel so comfortable with we are, you know, the power of two, the power of one, we're the same, we're one and the same, I'm with you, you're with me, like making them feel like everything's cool, you guys are one, you're not two, like you're together forever, blah blah. What if the ritual was a sacrifice where May turns into the fucking smoke monster and Osha absorbs her force powers or her force energy? So they basically Dragon Ball fuse. In a sense.
I think there's something about that, and Headland has kind of hinted at
because they aren't the virgins like Anakin is the virgins. They use the virgins to create life, but they could not create what they wanted to create, so it's split in two. So your power level, instead of your power level being 100%, your power level 60-40. So you take the 40, you know, How the fuck are we gonna get 5 gallons? We got a 3 gallon here and a 2 gallon here. How the fuck are we gonna get 5.5 gallons? So that's something.
Could it be them just like converging into one?
That
could, yeah.
But
That was one of my
Definitely.
theories. That's kind of what I thought I was going to see at the
But I
end of this
think
episode.
the consciousness would have been Osha because she's the more powerful one. So May would be absorbed. That's like, that's the sacrifice.
Now,
I mean, it was May
go
that
ahead.
was like smoke monstering, right? She was.
yes,
She was,
May smoke monster.
Because she would smoke monster into Osha, right?
okay. Yeah. I guess you're right.
Like she
Yeah.
would be she would
good headcanon.
apparition. She would apparition into like that's
That rhyme, the little rhyme they had together at the end of the episode, they said, "Where did we learn that from?" They don't know where they got it from, right? So I'm thinking that's the spell that got them to be who they are.
Yeah, and I've seen some people saying that.
Okay, good. I felt like a little crazy
no
person for thinking that. I'm glad other people are having the same kind of.
No, I don't. I haven't heard anybody say that. You are crazy, but
Shit.
I'm saying it adds. It would add on to that. That I think it's kind of inferred. Other people had inferred that maybe it was Mother Coral that taught them that rhyme, and so potentially that could be the spell. Now Headland has also said that Mother Coral, like, where'd she go? Where'd she go? And she said, I know where she went. She's going back to what she is. Will give you a hint as to where she goes.
Okay.
And she is Zabrak. And I mean, immediately you go Night Sisters, right?
Right.
So maybe this ties in if we go forward, because we know that Plagueis and then Palpatine, Sidious, they do have like a partnership of sorts with the Night Sisters, and maybe this is how they are introduced to the Night Sisters through this relationship with Mother
and
Coral.
down the line mall. Yeah.
Down the line mall.
Could have been Andrew Dice Clay that taught them that rhyme.
yes.
It's very possible.
Hickory dickory dock.
Yeah, I think that
Little boy blue.
there's a lot of
needed the
breadcrumbs
money.
along the way, that are going to lead up to this. So, Raj, I asked everybody else, how rate this last episode for me,
okay.
and the whole show, and the show as a whole.
Ooh. Okay. Rate the last episode. Am I rating it against itself throughout the season? Or am I rating it compared to Andor and Mandalorian season 1? What am I rating it to?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, I would say this last episode would be an 8 for me. And I appreciate the fact that they answered a lot of the questions that I didn't think they were going to get to, and they did subtly here and there. The show in itself, I rated a 6, but a fun 6. Like to me, the writing was a little weak, and not the writing of the storyline. The dialogue was a little weak, but again, I say this, and it's probably our fault because Les and I and Randy on Sith List, we watch House of the Dragon every Sunday and we react to it on YouTube. So we're going from House of the Dragon screenplay dialogue to this, which is nowhere near the level, and not a lot of things are near the level of House of the Dragon. I'm just talking screenplay wise. But I do appreciate there was some really cool shit. I mean, the choreography of the fight scenes were amazing. And we got to see some things we've never seen in Star Wars. We got to see how it feels to be Jedi mind tricked. I mean, those scenes were from the perspective of the person that was getting tricked, which we've never seen that in Star Wars. I loved that. It was super cool. I love the fact that Plagueis is now in the mix. That's rad. That's great. Another thing I like is what I loved about Andor was they showed the Republic in a way that you would never thought they could behave, right? They killed innocent people for the greater good of the Republic and for the Revolution. Jedis now, who are supposed to be, especially if you've read the High Republic stuff, the earlier High Republic stuff, the Jedis aren't like this. They do have attachment issues, but they would never do what they were covering up to do.
Right.
Like, I still don't think the Jedis, to me, I know you guys probably covered this. I get that what they did was horrific, and I got a lot of shit for this, but I don't see the what they did was as that bad for them to start committing suicide, to go into another place and drawing on walls, for Saul having to hold the secret for 16 years. I know people died, but the fact is that there's 2 girls that they thought that were going to be sacrificed, or that they thought they were going to be sacrificed, or they thought there was some crazy business going on, and one of them turns into smoke, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Of course he's going to kill her, dude. All of us would have killed her too. And by the way, they possessed one of the fellow Padawans a couple days before that. You know what I mean? Like, or a day before that, whatever it was. So there was, like Les said, there was shady business going on. And then when they were attacking, what else is he going to do? You know, at that point. So I get it was awful. And we saw the perspective that they probably weren't going to get sacrificed. But now that Plagueis is in the mix, who knows? Who knows what he was doing behind closed doors? Who knows if he was... Yeah. I mean, it could have been him that set the whole thing up. It's most likely. So I liked the show. It was fun. It was great watching it with my buddies on Tuesday nights. And I loved the lightsaber scenes were phenomenal. I love the actors in them. I thought the story, if you watch it in chronological order, I guarantee you it was a better watch than what we saw. You know, that there wasn't so many jagged endings to the first couple episodes, or just weird endings and weird editing. Yeah, the last episode, the feel of the last episode, the involvement of the Senate getting mixed into the Jedi, even like the camera filter, everything felt different this last episode. And I feel really good about if there's a season 2, they're going to learn from this and make it more of that. So that's where my head.
Do you guys think that the David, what is this, Harewood's character, that senator?
Yeah.
Do you guys think that he's involved at all?
I thought he was shady.
He gave me like Masamune vibes.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt like maybe he has other aspirations that we don't know about, but I didn't think he. By shady, do you mean like involved in it?
Maybe
I
like
didn't think he was involved in
that
those
strings are getting. You know who Masamune is, right? He's So, and I mean, all the way back in the Phantom Menace, if you go back and watch, you know, he's the guy who interrupts Valorum. So Palpatine's already got his claws in him,
right?
So, is this guy somebody that Plagueis, Tenebris, whoever has their claws in, that are just starting to like, oh, we are aware that there is a Jedi thing going on. So Les, or who was it that was saying, maybe it was Capone earlier, was saying like, how's he know all that? Maybe he does know more than what he's letting on, and that's just like he's a pawn that's being moved right now.
I felt like he was maybe planted there. Maybe he doesn't know like what the exact backstory is, but he was planted there to do specific, ask questions to make the Jedi weak.
Yeah,
that's how I felt. But I don't know if he knew exactly what was going on with the Virgins and all this stuff in Plagueis, but he looked a little shady that way, at least.
Look. Overall, I want to commend this series on just how much it is tying in a lot of things that I loved in Legends and bringing it back to the forefront into live action. Like the another one of them being like the Force, like you said, Force mind tricking and like getting into somebody's head and doing that. I was saying earlier, Raj, you missed that the Force, like I think that Mother Anastasia was like doing like an Inception on Torben, and that's why he acted so irrationally later. Like she had to be invited into his mind for him to really open up to it and kneel mentally.
And she never left.
Right, she never left. Like, or she planted something, like Leonardo DiCaprio style, went deep into his mind and planted that thought. Like, I have to get home by any means necessary.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and other things like the bleeding of the lightsaber. We saw bleeding of a lightsaber.
That was rad.
And also the mind trick at the end that we see, like the mind wipe.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people didn't like that.
Oh,
part.
I
didn't mind it at all. Yeah.
My only issue with that is it's plot armor for him to have that power.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, why wouldn't you use that? If you can use that on a Force user, you can use that on anybody. Like, why?
That's
wouldn't
what I said. And then I read somebody said that, well, if they're willing to do it and their mind's open to do it, maybe that's how it was easily done. I don't know.
So check this out. Season 2, first episode, Ki-Adi Mundi comes out. He has a battle with the Sith, right? The Sith are back. The Sith are here. All of a sudden, mind wipe. Kiadi cockhead. Fast forward 78 years later.
That's a lot of mind to wipe.
I love that nickname for him. I'm taking that from now on.
Kiadi dickhead.
There you go.
Kiadi dickhead.
Yeah. That's our buddy Hawes. Yeah, that's But no, like that lines up though, right? With even the thing with Torben and going into the mine and seeing how the Jedi mind trick works. That once he gave her permission, she was able to take over his mind easier. So she is willingly opening her mind up and letting him erase it. I loved it just because it calls back to KOTOR. It calls back to the Revan story. And that's what but it took, like a whole group of Jedi Masters to do that to Revan because he was unwilling. But where was it? We saw our buddy Mike Tumed over here in the comments too. He was asking why are Wookiees so weak-minded? I don't think they're weak-minded. You saw it took that whole group of the witches.
That's true. And they all passed out when it stopped.
They died.
They died. Yeah. Did they die? Did they die there, or were they passed out and they died afterwards? No, they died there.
They died. So I believe if you listen to the audio description or whatever track on Disney Plus, and Headland also said they died right there.
Oh, okay.
Didn't Indara kill them?
Indara killed them. Yeah. So I think that's also why Indara's tune changed, because she was also guilty of that. Well,
that's why she became a coke addict, drug addict, hanging out in the bars with this scum and villainy in the first episode.
Yeah, she was just she's on a bender right there.
Yeah,
they all died then, right? Every Jedi died that was involved. Yeah. What's up with Basil, by the way? Why is Basil why is he such a turncoat? That piece of filth.
That otter. That fuck.
Yeah. That little otter fucker. Why was he such a turncoat? First, he didn't he attack May early on?
Yep.
So I was talking to Grasso about this today. Right. He goes, Johnny says that he agreed with May that Saul's a dick, and he sabotaged his ship to save May because he liked her better.
Just in that 4 hours or 3 hours?
Yeah, he's just like, this guy's a dick.
All right.
He lived
Basil.
He's just looking for food, man. He's just
no. Listen, he listened.
That's true. This is true.
He listened to Saul tell the backstory truth to May, and he's like, "Yo, you're a dick, bro."
Killed her mom, man.
And then he felt bad for May. So when May went to escape, he's like, "Yo, just let this little girl go, bro. What's your deal?"
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
And then you're chasing her through the asteroid field when all you have to do is fly above it, by the way, instead of flying half.
Yeah, but how cool would that look?
Well, if you want to shoot her down, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
he was about to kill her, correct? He was about to kill her. He was about to murder her. Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Unless he has a tractor beam on that thing, he was about to shoot her because he was lined up.
Yeah, maybe he was trying to track her.
Saul was a little shady too at the end of this whole thing.
I don't think that thing has a tractor beam, guys.
No, it doesn't. That's what I'm saying.
I don't think it's set for stun either. So.
No, it's not.
I think he lets his emotions get the better of him, and that's what that senator's whole spiel was about.
Yeah,
that was some of the best dialogue in the entire series. This entire series.
He stole the scene. Absolutely stole the scene. He was 100%.
Awesome. But I think it was. But you can look at that, and the Jedi are emotionally stunted. They are raised to be emotionally stunted, and it's like Sean and I were talking about. He said he doesn't like to see Jedi portrayed badly. I don't think it's necessarily badly, but I think that most of the time the Jedi that we get, Qui-Gon, Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan, Soul, now they're the outliers where they let their compassion and emotion through.
That's right.
And in the old Legends, it was much better with Luke Skywalker and his Jedi Academy because he didn't put all that yoke of the old Jedi rules on his, new academy. He didn't put that all on them, but not having any relationships or anything.
Right. And the early High Republic books, the whole theme is that.
Right.
About the connection and being able to separate from the Force, and should we be able to have, should we be able to go to Smash Town if we wanted to go to Smash Town with someone? Those are things were said in the books. And the portrayal of the High Republic Jedis, I love them. And these guys were not those guys. I can tell you that much.
This is them. This is their.
This is them turning into what we know in Phantom Menace.
This is like at the end of ancient Rome, where all they did was
Yep.
like drink wine and have orgies and like have
Yeah.
homosexual sex with animals.
Yes,
the
yes,
opposite.
Yeah,
yes.
They stopped doing all that, and that's
Yeah, well,
that got them in trouble.
they're not up to the orgies yet, but they're about to.
That's
So,
Gladiator 2. I can't wait to see that stuff in there.
Yeah. Me too.
That's what's that new show coming out on?
Oh yeah.
Those About to
Yeah.
Die.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that.
Speaking
but,
speaking of orgies, Spartacus
Yes.
is gonna have a new series. Very
No, Spartacus is coming back.
Yeah, Spartacus is coming back.
Oh, that nobody did orgies better than Spartacus.
yeah,
The
except
Greeks,
for
maybe.
Yoda and Yaddle back in the day, you know.
Yeah, Yoda and
100
Yaddle. did.
years ago when they were still getting it on like that, you know.
Are we sure that wasn't Yaddle sitting? Not Yaddle, but Yaddle sitting there. That'd be awesome, wouldn't it? Like the season 2, it's Yaddle instead of Yoda. That would just the fandom would just explode their heads. Like what? That would be the best. That would be the best possible outcome for our fandom. I would
So-
love to see that.
Heather asked that earlier, and I think we started talking about it, but I don't know if everybody weighed in. I know Raj, you didn't weigh in. What do you think that Vernestra was going to say, particularly to Yoda at the end of that?
Well, I think Yoda. I think she's going to tell him the truth, and I think Yoda is a part of the cover-up. Like Yoda's covered up shit before, right? Yoda covered up Darth Maul. They didn't want to tell the Senate about a Sith user.
Right.
That
Well,
was
he covered
it's
up
not
the
like he
unknown
has
or
it.
whatever in the High Republic. Those
Yes, he covered up the ones that made every Jedi to husk, right?
Yeah.
So he's done it before. It's not anything new. I think he's there to protect the Jedi, and I think he might have been involved and orchestrated her from the get-go. You know, of having this plan. I don't know. That would be crazy though, if he was that involved. I don't know if I'd like that, but
Yeah, I think I want to keep Yoda pure, man.
I know.
Yoda's
Me too.
pure. I mean, to
I
me,
know. Right.
Yeah, I mean, he is
Yeah.
already part of cover-ups and stuff. He's complicit in the lie with Obi-Wan, sending
Yes,
Luke off to
that's
go
true.
kill his father
That is true.
before ever telling him. And I drew some conclusions last week to this. Like, everybody's giving Saul a bad rap for not telling, but I said it's the same thing with Obi-Wan. He didn't tell
It
Luke,
is.
and they just imagine though if Luke had learned about it then. Had learned about it at the beginning of A New Hope, he may have run off and joined Darth Vader. He may have had a similar. Go ahead, John.
No, I was gonna say there's a reason that I tell my kids Santa Claus is real. Like, I mean,
Yeah, me too.
there's certain people until, not just kids, but like until you get to a certain point of knowledge and understanding, it's not always a bad thing to keep certain things. I mean, it's not the most honest way, but I think there was
lying.
I don't want
to protect. No, listen, lying to protect one in Star Wars is a trope all over the place.
Yeah.
From a certain point of view, that line
Yep.
alone
Yeah,
is
bullshit.
like, this is why I lied to you. Like,
Yeah.
it's just constant, and it's mainly for the greater good, but it can backfire too.
That's
So.
true.
And it's all about when they find out and how they find out. And luckily Luke found out, but he had enough. I don't know. Maybe his dad beating the shit out of him beforehand probably didn't help. But if Vader had come, a little bit nicer, then it might have been different. And also Luke already, going back to the compassionate stuff, Luke had his father in him already. He was already loyal to the rebels, to Leia, to them. But if Vader had found him and talked to him beforehand, or if Obi-Wan had just straight up told him that before he goes and meets Leia and forms this connection with Leia and Han and stuff, it could all fall apart. So
Yeah.
it's the same thing. And I said it's the same thing too. Like, what if they had lied to Anakin? It may have turned out better if they had never told him he was the chosen one.
At
Like-
8 years old.
It's all about how much pressure you put on a child, right?
Sure.
Is lying for the greater good okay?
I think it would have been better if they just
That's a whole
not
other show.
told
Yeah.
Anakin. Yeah. Because from 8 years
That's-
old,
that's
he
good.
has that put on his shoulders. Like, you're the chosen one. You
Right.
got to live up to this. And you're not fitting in with all the other Jedi students.
So, Raj and Les, I know you guys got to bounce for your Patreon and the pod. We'll see you on there in a little bit.
Oh, okay, great.
But no, I just wanted to ask you, like, what did you think of like the decision at the end where it's like, okay, you go get your mind wiped, and like you won't know what's going on, and you'll probably get trained as a Jedi, and I'm gonna go over here and hang out with the bad guys because this is rad. Like, I mean, what did you? Is that how you took it, or?
Well, that's exactly. I took it as the yin and yang theme was throughout the entire episode. I just found out that Chimere in Arabic means moon, and Sol means sun. So, and not only that, if you watch the intro, I just thought of, you see an eclipse with the sun and the moon coming together. So they like tell you exactly what's going down just from the intro. So I thought that that's exactly how it was supposed to be. Who we thought was good was going to turn evil. Who we thought was evil is going to allegedly now help bring down Chimere, maybe. So no, I had no problems with that because I think that's the only way you'll do a season 2.
So Osha, like finding out, having the PTSD, being completely traumatized, bleeding the Kyber, watching that red on live screen, killing her previous master, and then being like, "I'm gonna go with the Sith," is like it flowed for you, like.
Oh no!
It's no different than any other Jedi betrayal. It's almost like a WWE betrayal. You're in the ring celebrating, and all of a sudden you pull them in for a clothesline, and then just go to town. So it comes out of nowhere, and it happens fast, and it's brutal. So
I think
I'll take it.
The manipulation that Chimere did in the previous episode to this episode was still a seed. Like, she tried to play it off like it wasn't, like, whatever, I'm not, like, we'll have to race each other once we get there. That's like the most bullshit line ever. That's like yo, once we get there, like, you can go to get your drug dealer. I'll just
that was complete bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. So he already had the seed, like, where he wanted it to be, and it's almost like they needed that to happen to get what they wanted.
Right, and May would have gone with them if it wasn't for allegedly the ship only had 2 seats. Right? How convenient. That makes sense because he's a Sith, and they have 2s are what they deal with. But
I thought I was taking it more of like Chimere realized that Vernestra was never going to stop unless he made a ploy to have the Jedi stop because they think they found everything. So leaving May there traumatized or memory wiped, but the Jedi think traumatized, makes them think they finished the investigation.
I think that
that makes sense.
I think her heel turn right there, the one big thing that you got to put into account is that helmet. We don't know everything that's going on with that helmet. Something happened to her when she put that helmet on.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, she took it off. Her eyes were red, like Sith red.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think it amplified her power somehow because,
she tapped into all the dark side that she had, and which she never could.
Yes, it opened it. All the other, like, it's like what he says in the previous episode. Like, she lost connection with the Force. He's like, yeah, that's what the Jedi tell you. There's other ways. If you just use your negative emotions or whatever, then you can jump right back in, and it's a quicker, more easy path, like Yoda said.
Yeah, right.
And
makes sense.
Get the taste of it, and she jumps in there.
Right.
What do you guys want to see in a season 2?
Oh, I want to see the Plagueis thing, pan out and see where that goes. I'd like to see more of the cover up and the Senate being involved. I definitely want to see more of the Coruscant situation. And some of the questions I want answered. Why did we get Kylo Ren theme 3 times in this show? And Headland said, "Well, you're going to find out why. You're going to find out why." I don't think we found out really why. He's not the knight. I thought he was going to be the first knight of Ren or something. You know what I mean?
Still could be, man.
He could be. Maybe we'll see that in season 2. But just some of the questions that I'd like to find out a little bit more involved. I want to see more of, like, I want Yoda involved. Not involved in a bad way, but just like stepping in and saying, what the hell's going on? Like, what are we doing here? Kind of thing.
I'd like to see, like, Vernestra takes, like, kind of like the sole protagonist role of the Jedi, and then Yoda being in Vernestra's role, like in this series, back at home base.
Yeah.
I think he gets called back in. He's got to come back in and
I'm going to agree with John Capote here. Senate debates would be awesome.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
A lot of people hate the politics side of it. I enjoy it.
No, I love it.
Yeah, me too. And then, dude, I just want to see Plagueis. Like,
me too.
I love Plagueis. So the more Plagueis, the better.
Yeah. That'd be rad.
If
Les,
we get
what do you think?
Tenebris would be a bonus.
Oh yeah.
Cannabis would be a
Yes.
huge bonus. Yeah.
I just want to see. I got to be honest. I just want to see more fights. I just want to see more fights, more brutal
The
deaths.
fights were awesome, dude.
Chimera killed Jackie in the most despicable way. It was one of the biggest.
Oh yeah, that was awful.
Oh man, she was doing so well.
poor
You know,
daughter.
just you know, you just want to see that. That's what I want to see. Just bring on more of that, and of course, you know, the level of training, I guess, that for OSHA now. Like, how far is this going to go? You know, like how far, how powerful can they be? You know.
Right. That's right. The
Well,
lightsaber
gotta
whip,
get-
man. They promoted the crap out of that thing, and then it was just one time.
Yeah, it was there for what we needed to see it, right? Same
Yeah.
episode, almost back-to-back scenes. We see the scar, and then we see her
The
use the
scar.
lightsaber whip.
That's right.
So
That's
it's
right.
like, oh, yep. And then that was confirmed in this episode. That was her former Padawan, Mikey.
I'd like to see what happens there. By the way, why
Yeah.
why did that whole backstory
Yeah.
is going to be cool.
I think season 2 could be, man. Like we were saying, I think it would be better if you just watched it in order. But if they're gonna do they could do more of like a Lost flashback style, where you don't need whole episodes of flashback. I think if you
Right.
break it up into chunks and build character with that, we could center more on Kamir next season, and we could see some of his build his character.
Well, we need to know what happened between him and Vernestra, why he
Right.
turned. So
I want
Oh,
to see
yeah.
the roach cut of this series.
Roach cut
Season
is
1.
in the works for this series right now.
Yeah,
So
Cut,
yeah,
cut it
looking
like
at-
that. It'll be cool.
Yeah, I think that next season, I think that we're going to see. I don't think we've seen the last of Mother Anasea. We were talking about names. Raj, you were talking about Sol and Chimera. Chimera is also very close to Chimera, and
Yeah.
one of the things could this be? People are talking about why is Plagueis letting his acolyte or whatever run around like that, unless he is using him as an avatar, a la Palpatine and Snoke. So that's a thing I've heard some people saying. I don't really
100% could be that.
Yeah,
it could be that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, Capone's saying on here longer episodes. I think definitely.
Hell yes, Capone. Yes.
This whole series could have been told. It's good. It's a good story, but it's not being. You guys talked about House of the Dragons. This show has some of the same writers as House of the Dragons season 1.
Yeah.
But Disney just won't. Pappas and I were talking about this last week. I think that I love Filoni, but I think it's a Filoni thing. He is latched on to this 22-minute storytelling configuration from animation, and it needs to go. It needs to go
Yeah, it
Tony
does.
Gilroy style, and/or
Mhm.
and tell things like that. My other theory is with the names, like I was saying, Anasea is close to Anastasia, which means resurrection. And I think that the whole ascension thing was a way, and they said you will rule, right? I think that potentially we haven't seen the last of Mother Anasea. She's going to come back and use one of those girls as a vessel. And now that May's on a clean slate, and she's the one with the tattoo, marked, and she was the one she was ghosting. So potentially she might have been ghosting to do force convergence.
There's so many open questions, and if there's not a season 2,
Yeah.
it's going to be horrible, right? You've got Coral, you've got Anasea,
Right.
You've got Yoda, you've got Plagueis. I mean, there's so much going on.
They'll make 3 comic books and say that's it.
Yeah,
They'll make
I mean, if-
that's what I was saying
I mean-
before.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if there's not a season 2, that would be okay. I'd rather see a season 2, but
Have James
there needs to be
Me
some
too.
conclusion to this.
Yeah. I
James
agree.
Lucino. If we don't get a season 2, let James
Dude,
Lucino
if
write
James Lucino writes it. Oh.
write it, and it'll be like a prequel to Darth Plagueis. Let him connect all the dots
wow.
between the Darth
That would be
Plagueis
rad.
novel and this.
That is the exception. I will take.
Or at least bring him on as a consultant like they did with Timothy Zahn.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
at least do that.
I mean,
minimum.
either way, I think they should bring him on as a consultant.
They should bring him on either
going
way,
forward. Tie it in.
Yeah.
Tie it in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man.
How old is Plagueis? So wouldn't he be 10 or something? But I mean, they changed Coyote Money's age.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, they can do whatever they want now because the story was still Legends. So now they can
Yeah,
do whatever the hell they want.
No, I think it still makes sense, even with with the Legends timeline, because we've got 100 or some odd years here, right?
100
Right?
years, yeah.
How old do Munes live for?
Josh and I went over this. I've checked
did.
out. I was about to clear them. Yeah, it's like up 150 or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that matches up.
So,
All right, guys.
but again, that shit's Legends too. Go ahead, Araj. Go ahead, Les. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming
Well,
on.
thank you
Boys,
guys
thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. We'll see you on the other side. We're
See you
doing
on the
home and
other
home
side.
tonight, huh?
Home and home.
Yeah.
Follow
Yeah, that
Left
was
and Right
awesome.
on the Sith List, guys.
Yeah,
So-
we'll
Please.
be talking about this for a while. That's for sure. And House of Dragons and Deadpool coming up, so we'll be doing that too. But it's all
Psych.
about Acolyte right now. Yeah, psych too. All right, guys, thank you so much. That was awesome.
Take
Take
care.
it easy, guys.
See ya.
Guys.
And then there were 3.
The
power of
one.
2.
The power
Power
of 2. The
of
power of 3.
69.
The power of many.
So, Josh, talk about some of your crazy theories. I'm going to confirm that Mun age shit.
Yeah, I think that like the biggest one I think that we're going to get more of is we're going to get more of these witches, because I don't think she went and created an entirely new sect of witches with chants and pop songs and everything to boot, just to kill them all off and not revisit them. I think that this is going to be, and like we have essence transfer going back to the Darth Plagueis book. They state in there that essence transfer is a lost art to the Sith, but at this point, a Plagueis and Tenebris. But if Anastasia means resurrection, she is able to do an essence transfer. I think season 2, we see May trying to uncover her memories and them going after Kamir and her sister. And in doing so, they track down Mother Coral. And somehow along the way, Mother Anastasia, like, once she sees, like, oh, one of my daughters is still alive, it's the one with the marking, I can bring back my boo and bring back Mother Anastasia, and then they can just just bring down destruction on these Jedi and be a whole nother, like, side distraction against the Sith.
I mean, and Plagueis would be all for that too if he could learn more from Mother Anastasia, and then you tie in with the Night Sisters and Coral's Zabrak. I mean, there could be a lot there.
I think it's going to be twofold. I think Plagueis, through Chimere, through Osha, they're going to want to find once Chimere tells Plagueis that there was a vergence on this planet, and through the vergence, these witches were able to create life and manipulate the Force to create life. Plagueis is going to be all about that. He's going to want to track down Mother Coral, and he's going to want to track down Osha, because not only are they created from a vergence, I think that they're also a dyad. And I think that that's going to play into Rise of Skywalker lore to try and bolster that up. That Plagueis is going to want to, and that's how Palpatine's going to know about it. So he's going to go after these witches, Mother Coral, go try to find May and reunite May and Osha to figure out how they created life, how he can manipulate life, try and use it for himself, and also get the power of the dyad.
Wow. Gold. Call Pablo Hidalgo right now. I just wrote down all the cliff notes of that. So it's already it's already written. Call Leslie up.
I just word vomited all over you guys.
That was fantastic.
Not from a Jedi.
What are you thinking? What are you thinking, Pappas? What are you thinking, Sean?
Everything you just said, ditto.
Yeah, I had no thoughts. I like that idea.
I thought it was great.
I hadn't really theorized what would happen, but I like it.
I'll say this. I really hope, I wish, it's wishful thinking and headcanon of mine. I think there needs to be a scene with Chimere and Plagueis, like master and apprentice scene, and like how the dynamics of that relationship I really want to see.
there needs to be a lot like more of that. If they just show like a little peek of Plagueis in season 2 or a couple peeks, I'll be really disappointed.
No, like set Osha out on like some scouting mission or some assassination, and I want to see the kneel. I want to see the kneel. I want to hear the fucking Palpatine music or the Plagueis music. I want
to
that
hear
whole
this
shit.
music. Yeah. This is
Yeah.
the music I want. This is my favorite freaking music in Star Wars.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's what they need. There needs to be more. And I was telling Sean earlier, this is what they do in Star Wars television shows. Rebels season 1, it's all new characters essentially. You have a little bitty cameos from like the droids and stuff, but it's at the end of season 1 that they bring in like Ahsoka. Then they bring in later. They're bringing in Vader. They're bringing in Tarkin. They introduce you to these new characters because they want you to get attached to these characters. They want you to grow and get to know these characters. Just like when they were trying to write episode 7 and they said they kept trying to bring Luke in earlier and he stole the scene. They want to get you attached to these characters before they bring in these other guys. And we saw it. We saw Plagueis and Yoda are coming season 2. Like 2 of the biggest hitters on either side of the Force.
Big hitters. Love it. And some
Yeah.
Kiadi Mundi.
And more Kiadi Mundi, please. More Kiadi Mundi.
What about the witch attack on Kilnaka?
Yeah, man. All right, guys. Where can everybody like and follow you guys?
Facebook, I guess. My Twitter's been hacked. I just spoke to Elon. He's working on it. So Facebook, I guess. The Pop Culture Hour group on Facebook is the best place to find me.
Yeah, you can find me on here maybe like 2 or 3 times a year. It's the best.
Yeah,
place
we're gonna get him on more often. I got to get him down on the pod race.
Yeah, we got to get your Japor snippet on there. And
I need to. No, you're right. I need to.
Now, if we get you on here, man, I'd love to have you on here more often, Sean. We need a third person to bounce our ideas off of because
we're gonna start theorizing
down.
about the Skeleton Crew show. It should be a fun thing to
fun Goonies
puzzle,
and Star Wars.
puzzle. Yeah, I don't know. Goonies and Star Wars. Yes, that's fun. That sounds fun.
That's what I'm looking forward to next, guys. But yeah, so guys, we'll let you go. If you want to catch more of our continued conversation tonight with me and Pappas, we are headed over to the Sith List.
I think we'll be live on YouTube.
I think we'll be live on
YouTube.
I think they normally are live on YouTube, so you guys can catch us there. But until next time, we're going to try to keep this rolling. It's not going to be the same night every week, but we enjoy having you guys on here, and hopefully we give you get it scheduled, give you guys a heads up when we're going live, and get you guys to come on here and chat with us. May the Force be with you.
It was a blast.
Peace.
Head canon, not from a Jedi.